What's going on, guys? We are here getting defensive. We are going to talk about safeties tonight. We're going to talk about who to drop. We're going to talk about who you're going to sell and who you're going to be buying. And to set the table, let's talk about some housekeeping first. Make sure you subscribe, leave some comments, drop your questions. Make sure you go to Rider Dynasty podcast so you can subscribe and get yourself a free entry for a DeAndre Swift signed jersey. So I'm going to introduce the guys, and then we're going to go into some news before we get into our safeties. Gary, how we doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Ready to get into these.
Absolutely. Mason, I appreciate you hanging out and being patient with us. Brandon, how we doing, sir?
Doing pretty good, man. Excited about talking about these safeties and helping people with their dynasty rosters tonight.
Yeah, and speaking of safeties, we have some news to go through. So I want to go through the news really quick because we have two pretty big safety news bullets before we get into this. Brandon, Minkah Fitzpatrick signed a 4-year extension with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's no longer going to be holding out. What are your thoughts about that extension and how it goes for Minkah Fitzpatrick's dynasty value?
I think that was a very smart move by Pittsburgh, locking up one of their best defensive players. I think Fitzpatrick is one of the best safeties in the league. What he does on the field, you look at, he led all safeties in tackles with 124 total tackles. He's always been a big play machine, with interceptions, pick sixes. So I mean that was a very smart move. You got to keep your core on defense together. You're going to try to compete and make the playoffs and win Super Bowls. That was a good move by the Steelers, and his dynasty value, should stay the same. It's pretty high right now. Should stay where it is.
All right, so Gary, we got some big news out of the Colts. A 3-year veteran is retiring. Kyrie Lewis decides he wants to go into ministry, and he's no longer going to be an Indianapolis Colt, at least for the time being. He's retired. And that's big news for one of the rookie safeties. Let's talk about Nick Cross.
Well, first you got to say congratulations to Mr. Willis if he's came to that conclusion, and it makes him happy. We'll miss him on the field, but we're going to talk about Nick Cross real quick. That's my main topic. That's my hot topic. That's actually, things kind of lit up right after it happened yesterday. So I was a little bit late to the show, but guys were primed. We were all talking. I basically just want to mention that Nick Cross has definitely been put into a position that he's going to be able to succeed. There was a lot of love for him. His landing spot was not ideal because Mr. Willis was sitting there. So, these early on rankings reflected that. He looked like he could be sitting there a little bit. Plus, they have Blackman in there, and they another guy back in the safety unit. Odeman's gone. He's with the 49ers. But either way, Nick Cross looks like he's just going to inherit this position unless they go and they sign somebody like Collins or something like that. But we don't think that's the scenario they're going to go. A lot of guys, looking at Gridiron ratings on him, his overall is outstanding. Actually, now it's better than Kyle Hamilton's coming in here. And I tend to believe that. I think he moves up into the top 3 easily. It'll be hard to split the hairs. A little bit early to do just yet between him and Brisker, for my opinion. It depends really if you're looking at a dynasty or not. He might have the edge on Hamilton in a redraft, but I'm going to be a little bit cautious about it. I love this, and this is a great thing. We've seen this a lot. So don't go crazy ballistic on this because there is an NFL learning curve. And I want to also mention, since Darius Leonard's been there, there has not really been a high-end strong safety continuously be there, and I'm not blaming that or saying that that's going to be the problem with Nick Cross or anything, but there are some good guys in that front 7, and there's only going to be so much IDP production, and we're talking about his year this year. Just don't think about it dynasty wise. He probably is tied with Brisker for me as second. It's hard to say. Just don't go hog wild all of a sudden.
Don't go hog wild. Don't go chasing waterfalls. let's talk about some defensive ends. Nick Bosa is expected to be at camp. Chase Young's expected to be on the PUP for camp. Derwin James, switching back to safeties, still recovering from labrum surgery, so he hasn't been practicing. Marcus Davenport, so he's defensive end. He had part of his pinky amputated. He had a broken plate pending from a surgery he had last season, and so he had part of his pinky amputated. That's something of note. And then Kobe Bryant. So Kobe Bryant, one of the best names out of this draft class, went to Seattle, and they said it's not out of the cards that he could be the day one starter in Seattle. Not saying he is. Obviously, we're way away from official depth charts and things like that, but that's something to note when you're talking about your safeties. Kobe Bryant, he played for Cincinnati. He was great, and he could be a fast riser and, could be a late steal that you got late in your rookie drafts. There was some small signings that I wanted to talk about. Josh Jackson went to the Cardinals. We have Odenigbo went to the Colts. Lemons went to Kansas City. Anything with those guys? Didn't think so. So let's get into the main event, and we're going to start off right here. Just talking about some safeties, some dynasty drops. Who wants to start? Gary, want to start us off?
Yeah, I'll go ahead because it kind of sprang the Rashawn Jenkins there with parentheses on Brandon. So we're going to be talking about somebody. Reason we start with the drops, you got to know who to get rid of or who move on to get the rest of these and buy or sell. So with Andrew Wingard actually held his own last year, but he seems to be the odd man out right now between Cisco and Jenkins. The funny thing about the whole situation between the two is Andrew Wingard was probably better football player on the field last year, so as it was over Jenkins. So, in a deeper format, you might want to keep an eye on him if he is on the, if you drop him or something, but he should be expendable at this point. And we're going to talk a little bit at some point about why.
All right, Brandon, who do you got?
Yeah, Wingard, like Gary was saying, he's slated to play a reserve role this season after he started 15 games last year. He provided solid IDP value with his 80 combined tackles. He's an average player. He's former undrafted free agent.
I'm going to get defensive. Go get your own guy. Pick somebody else. There's all kinds of guys there. Get off my. Go. Get you one. Get you some of that, Brandon. Look at that smile, man. Love it. Yo, folks, this only happens
on Wingard, man. Okay. He struggles in coverage. He's more of a box safety. Cisco is going to be moving into that starting lineup. He's better in coverage.
Yep.
You look at Wingard. He was responsible for giving up 4 T's in coverage.
Save that for the Cisco, man.
Okay.
Save that for Cisco. That's why I said pick somebody else, man.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, roll with it, man. We don't want to
So who else do we got here? We talked about Andrew Wingard. Who put Logan Ryan on the list? Who put Terrelle Edmunds on the list?
Okay. Yeah, I can discuss Logan Ryan. You look at Logan Ryan. He's provided solid DB value in fantasy. He's been an incredible contributor. Highly productive, over 100 tackles in 2 of the last 3 seasons. But he is 32 years old. He's moving to Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they have an emerging young safety in Mike Edwards, who's projected to start this year in OTAs. They're talking him up. They really like his big play ability. He had a game against the Falcons last season where he had 2 pick sixes. He picked off Matt Ryan twice, ran back for touchdowns.
Wow.
He's better in coverage than Logan Ryan. He's 26 years old. He's young and emerging. So looking at Ryan, he's probably going to play that third safety role behind Winfield and Mike Edwards. Mike Edwards was a third safety last season. He played around 57% of the snaps, but he did start a few games. So things are kind of trending down, for Matt Ryan. So that's why we have him listed as a drop. His age, and then his role is going to be declining with the Buccaneers.
So that makes sense. And so last week you guys talked about Tremaine Edmunds. Now you got his brother on here. The family's not going to be a friend of the show, Gary. Why is Terrelle Edmunds on the list?
I mean, it's just for these guys. If you're sitting there and you've been holding on to him, thinking he's ever going to go up to a tier 1, it's just, that's been a pipe dream for a couple of years, I guess. It's been worth sitting there. Everybody likes to dot this guy at the end of their. It's time just to move on because he's never going to really have that high of a ceiling. And unless you're in the deepest of formats, it's just time to move on. Yeah, I mean, he was literally a free agent. And I believe they actually waited a while before he might have even tested the market, and then he re-signed with Pittsburgh. I think that might have been the case on that. Don't quote me. But either way, it's more of a warning. If you've got him, you can go ahead and drop him. There's going to be some type of other players out there with a lot better upside. I'm not even concerned about it wherever he might land next year.
Yeah, you see that a lot with these highly recruited or these high draft capital guys. The NFL seems to hang on to him a little bit longer, and so do we. You see your Laquan Treadwells and things like that just kind of hang around for a really long time. Really based on that draft capital and that draft type. Jabrill Peppers is the last gentleman on the list. Who wants to talk about Jabrill Peppers?
I kick the dog all the time on Peppers, so please, Brandon.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Jabrill Peppers, he's a player that's been trending down. This is going to be his third team in, 6 seasons of play in the NFL. He struggles in coverage. He's more of a box safety. He's been plagued by injuries. And now he moves to the Patriots. The Patriots, they have their 3 starting safeties set already. So he's on like 4th on the depth chart. He's going to play mostly in sub packages there. I have some real. There's going to be some real issues with Jabrill Peppers. People who have him on his roster, they're going to be very disappointed. He's not going to be seeing that many snaps. He's going to play a reserve role.
Yeah, and he's coming off of a major injury as well.
That's right.
All right. Are we ready to move on to the next slide?
We are, sir.
All right. So let's talk about dynasty sells. Marcus Maye is on top of the slide. So we're going to start off with him. Gary, can you talk about Marcus Maye?
Yeah, I don't buy it. I don't buy with the depth that they have up there. I mean, you're looking at a former high draft pick that played for Tampa Bay, Justin Evans. He's back healthy. Then you got the Honey Badger. You have Source, and it's a decent vet. You got Marcus Maye. He's already got some red flags with a DUI, I believe. It's been postponed until August, so we're possibly looking at a suspension. We're also throwing in the fact that we truly do all really feel like Pete Warner is going to be on the field a lot more. And it's not going to be at the expense of Davis. All right. There's no way I'm investing what Marcus Maye's hype usually cost in the past to go acquire him. If I have him and I have somebody that's biting, I'm definitely got him on the block, and I'd probably be able to take something in the range of a 3rd or 4th rookie draft pick. I can't imagine too much real value nowadays in most formats to say what you would get for an offensive player for a defensive back that he's got an injury history, a little bit there. He's also got some underachievements as much as he does achievements. So I'm passing on Maye. I'm selling if at all possible.
Makes sense. Harrison Smith, Brandon, that's something you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, Harrison Smith, a longtime Viking, he's getting up there in age. He's 33 years old. They drafted his replacement in the 1st round this year, Lewis Soon. The team is also high on 2nd-year safety Cameron Bynum. The team talks about him every time through the media. So I think that's who they envision their starting safeties and going into the future. Lewisine and Cameron Bynum, and also Harrison Smith. He had a career year last year. 33 years old. He had his highest tackling output last year. He had over 114 tackles. That was in large just due to them moving him to strong safety, and also the defense. Underperformed. They were one of the worst defenses in the league. 24th overall. So he played a lot of snaps. So that 100 tackle production that he produced last season, if you guys are expecting that, I think you're gonna be very disappointed. That's more to me. That's more of an anomaly to me. So he's a big time cut candidate. He could lose snaps to Cameron Bynum.
Well, it's just a peak time to get any value out of them. You always got those guys in the dynasty leagues too that, like me. I mean, you tell me Harrison Smith on the block this time of the year, and I'm looking at this for this year. I'm buying. You know what I mean? I don't care. I'll give the pick. I'll give whatever it is to get a hold of them. But yeah, I think it's the. I mean, would you mention 33?
Yeah. Right, 33 years old.
Folks, if you haven't cashed in dynasty wise, it's get it now. Get her now.
Yeah, get it now, or you may be forced to hold. The question, dynasty sells of how much you would sell it for. I mean, we got what's our bottom line that we would sell it for, and then you got the other side. How much would you pay? So Brandon, what do you think that you would be the bottom line? You would have to get Harrison Smith off your roster.
Well, I think he's still got a lot of value in IDP fantasy players' minds. So I try to get a second for him, but if not, I definitely take a third for him. Somebody a wide receiver 2 or RB2 low end for him because he has a lot of value because he had a career year last season. So I try to get maximum value for him. Second, maybe a third. I'll definitely take a third for him.
I like it because if it was me and I was there, I'd pay it. If I could, I'd pay it because I like playing Dynasty to win now. But either way, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, there's got to be. It always takes two to tango. I hate your team message boards when people are mad because every single team didn't trade back every single time, and it's like it takes two to tango. If Brandon offers me a 7th round pick, we're not making a deal. That's right. And if I offer him a 5th round pick, we're not making a deal. So it takes two to tango. You have to have the right price, and sometimes it has to be somewhere in the middle. And like Brandon said, he would want he would want a 2. It's where he'd start. But at the end of the day, if he got offered a 3 and he was looking to sell, that's where he would go. So let's talk about Quandre Diggs. I mentioned earlier Kobe Bryant. Does that have something to do with this, Gary?
You mentioned who?
Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant. No.
Kobe.
Oh, God, man.
No. Kobe Bryant from the University of Cincinnati Bearcats. He was drafted to the Seattle Seahawks, and they said today that he could potentially be a day 1 starter.
Wow. No, didn't. That's
it just all worked out. So why are we selling Quandre Diggs?
Right. I live in a hole. Anyways, coming off injury, I was trying to I was trying to remind myself what the injury is. He's not quite back to par right now. What was it? I think he's not doing any more than some walking through or something. But there's a reason that Diggs actually outperformed Adam last year. Adams went 100% again. I think that we're going to be seeing a lot of reverse roll. Adams back up in the box more, taking those charges at the into the backfield. A lot of those types of things. Not to take anything away from Diggs at all, but his ceiling is nowhere what it was last year, in my opinion. He's a good player. It's just he was playing out of position. He was playing a jack of all trades, to tell you the truth, because of the circumstances. So I'm not expecting that this year. I know besides Brooks, we don't know what Cody Barton's bringing to it. I think that's why Adams is going to get a chance, if he can stay healthy, to get a chance and regain his crown as one of those top 3 guys, I think he's 31. So if you can find anybody at this point in time, a guy like that coming off, I think it might be his best season or one of his best seasons. Considering the situation, I'd sell him just like I'd sell Harrison if somebody was willing to buy him.
Right. Yeah. He's 29 years old, and this was his best season. He had 94 combined tackles. Previously, his highest output was 78 total tackles last season. He's had 5 interceptions each of the past 2 seasons, so that's propped him up. But we all know that you can't count on interceptions from year to year. So he's definitely a prime sell candidate for me.
I like that. And what we sell him for?
I'd take less. Definitely, I'd take about what I would with Maye. I mean, third, fourth, something like that in a rookie. Give me at this point, to me, defensive back pool is so deep in most formats, even deeper formats nowadays if you got shallower benches. But either way, if if I could get a 4th out of Diggs and Maye, I'd probably be like ecstatic about it, knowing that I would be able to replace it fairly easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Which it brings us to Jordan Poyer, and that's tough. I mean, last year it was like I remember me and Jeff, founder of Gridiron Ratings here, we had a discussion about Poyer this time last year, and Jeff was like, he's on his downslide, and it's in his ratings. Our ratings are definitely pointing that way again. So I am actually not probably buying that many shares of him if I've got him in a dynasty. We're exactly at the same point. His age, his production, it's that time. It's tough for these defensive backs. I mean, you get these bigger guys like defensive ends or outside line rushers or such. Those guys can pretty well, even linebackers can tough it out into their 30s. They're doing it now. These are your old guys. This is it. This is the cutoff. So how much longer can they play? Get your money and go unless you're competing now. And
Sure.
I wouldn't do that with Diggs or Maye.
Anything to add, Brandon?
Yeah, definitely. I think you can probably get the most out of Poyer than any of these other guys, but he's still playing at an elite level. He had 5 interceptions last season, nearly 100 combined tackles. He's one of the main reasons why Buffalo had the number 1 total defense in the league and number 1 pass defense in the league. He's an exceptional safety. But he's 31 years old, and he's going to be an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. The Bills didn't extend his contract.
They're probably tired of paying him. It's like, dude.
Yeah, so they're probably going to be looking to replace him, and he's been eating in that Buffalo scheme, and we don't know where he'll land next season. So you may not get that same production. So you're better off selling now.
Yep.
Even if you get another couple of years out of either one of these guys, still it's at the peak of their market. It's not going to get higher. Doesn't matter what kind of season they have this year, because coming in the following season, they're just going to be a year older.
Yep.
So what would you trade him for? What, 2nd round pick, Gary? That sound about right?
I would want, I would just want to squeeze in a rookie pick. Yeah, somebody's going to pay me out of Harrison Poyer. Definitely want the 2nd. Would take the 3rd.
Yeah, I look at these guys like I would receivers. I know there's a lot of them and it's deep. But, you got your Keenan Allens of the world where I'm not going to just trade Keenan Allen because I'm supposed to sell him. You're going to need to give me a good enough offer. If not, I'm just going to ride it out because he's still going to be a PPR machine this year. Right. And I'll just ride those wheels until they fall off. I'm not going to take a, 4th round pick from someone in my league that I'm competing against.
Right. Right. Sometimes you just bite the bullet, you go down. You got to
bite the bullet.
Yep. Right.
Same with these guys. Ready for the next slide?
Yep.
All right, we're moving along here. So we talked a little bit about this earlier. And Andre Cisco, sophomore, Jaguars got a very young, very retooled defense. And Brandon started to let the cat out the bag earlier. Well, let's go. Let's do it, Brandon. Let's talk about Andre Cisco.
Yeah, I think IDP fans need to be excited about Andre Cisco. He's projected to start this season. He had a tough rookie season. You're still learning the ropes. Struggle to pick up the system. But this season, I'm hearing nothing but rave reviews about Cisco, how he's performing OTAs. The coaching staff is excited about him. So just looking at his going back to his college production, I mean, he was a ball hawk. He had something like 13 interceptions in college, and I think that's going to translate to the pros. You look at he started, I believe, the last 2 games of the season. 3 games of the season, he performed very well. He didn't a lot. He only allowed 1 completion, they say, in the last 3 weeks of the season. So his coverage abilities are gonna, enhance that pass defense next season. So he's definitely has high end DB2, low end DB1 upside. I like him.
I like that. And so. What are we paying for him? So we're buying him. What are we paying?
I would say I would try to get him for a 3rd rounder. I mean, he's still unproven, and people who drafted him, they might be down on him because he barely played as a rookie.
Yep.
So I try to get him for like a 3rd round pick. I think that's fair.
Yeah. So if you're a rebuilding team, you're kind of taking some of those guys that we talked about from the sell list. If you can't get a pick for them, maybe just get a younger player. You say, hey, I'll give you, one of the guys that we were selling for a Cisco type.
Yeah, we're not looking for that huge of a ceiling off of him. This is buy at the right price guy, and we will mention that on each one of these. Probably, it just definitely stick to buy to the the right price. But his upside is just there.
And let's talk Marcus Epps. This defense for Philadelphia, they got a lot better last year, and there's a lot of pieces that you're seeing on a lot of IDP rankings that are really high, and Marcus Epps is someone that is just he's got a stock is on the way up. You want to get it before it gets too high. Let's talk about Marcus Epps, Gary.
Oh yeah, it was hard not a while back. I wish I would have kept kind of a train of thought because he was a candidate at one point at the end of last year to be a tipster breakout call this year. But I believe, yes, the traction's coming on. Everybody's realizing that he is a coach staff favorite. He actually graded out well in limited playing time last year. If you go to the 2 games that he played 100%, I think it was like week 7 and 8. Maybe it was 10 and 12, something that was a back-to-back. He dominated while he was out there in production. He actually took a position that for some time since maybe Malcolm Jenkins has left and went to New Orleans, nobody had been producing. And with the lack of a good linebacker core in front of him to boot in the box for a strong safety. But he's getting the chance. They've pretty well have handed him the keys. It's his gig to lose. So they're switching the scheme. They're going to a 3-4. This is great for Epps. This is a big bonus for him. This is going to, help him out to the point to where he should get a lot more opportunities than there in the box to make some plays. And I think he's got some splash play ability. We didn't see much of that, but he's definitely in the position that you could probably get this guy off the waiver wire right now, folks, if you got a deep bench and you're looking for a flyer. I mean, when I say buy, I don't know, you could probably get this guy pretty damn cheap.
I got him cheap, man. I just wrapped up a dynasty startup, 53 rounds. I got him like in the 50th round. Nobody even thought about him.
Yeah. Yeah, I know right now I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot, but there's a certain waiver wire I'm just drooling because both Cisco and Epps are sitting on this thing, and we just got done with a combined rookie vet draft. So yeah, all right, I'm done drooling
No,
now. Sorry.
you're good. You're
Yeah.
good. I'm gonna be looking at these guys. I'm Brandon's on the clock. I'm next in a startup, and I'm gonna be looking at these guys to hopefully Brandon doesn't pick them up. Jordan Whitehead, I think, is off of our board, and going to the Jets. What do you guys think about that? Is he filling in the Marcus Maye role?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think this is gonna. I think IDP fans need to be excited about Jordan Whitehead this season. He's a young safety, 25 years old. He's moving to the Jets into that Marcus Maye strong safety role. So he should have a lot of opportunities, especially with the Jets. I believe they have like the sixth toughest strength of schedule. They're only projected to win about 5 or 6 games. So, teams are probably going to be running on them. And, he's going to be a big he's going to be key in stopping the run at that strong safety position. I think he's going to have a chance for over 100 combined tackles. Just looking at the production that Marcus Maye had before he went out. Marcus Maye only played 6 games before he went out with Achilles injury. He racked up over 46 combined tackles. He was on pace to have like 130 total tackles. So I'm just looking at that, and Whitehead moving into that spot. He's a high upside player. He has a chance to be like a in the DB1 range.
Yeah.
And
when we was talking about,
go ahead.
When we were talking about Logan Ryan earlier and him being a drop, that this is why I don't like Logan Ryan, and I don't think you're going to get any value out of him. I guess you could try to sell that name, but either way is because of what Jordan Whitehead just went through down there in that defensive scheme with that free safety being out there. That's not a prime place, and I got a feeling that we're going to be seeing. Ryan's not as good on film. He's not as good as player as what his production's been because of the roles he had at Tennessee, because of the role that he inherited and ran with the Giants. So I think he's going to be in the slot playing some safety. I agree with the whole Edwards. I think they really think that Edwards is ready to go now after what he did last year. But the opportunity in New York for Whitehead, he's going to not only be playing strong safety, have you seen the secondary? Have you seen the safety core? He's going to be all over that field. And if he's healthy, he's probably going to be worth, if I'm looking, I ain't got no problem giving him a nice little second. If I'm really looking for a guy for a dynasty for 3 to 4 years, maybe 2 to 3 years, whatever. If that's what I need, I think if I could get him for it, I'd throw a rookie pick on him right now.
So here's the guy that I'm most excited about listening to, just because I just picked him up a couple days ago in that startup draft, and I was honestly a little nervous about the pick, that it was a bad pick, but seeing him on the board here as a dynasty buy, feeling pretty good right now. So, Gary, why is DeShon Elliott a buy?
Oh, the Lions have done a real well lately of getting high quality characters into that organization. And Elliott, man, he's coming from the Ravens where he's been a journeyman. He's got a lot of playing time off and on over the years. We all know that Baltimore kind of covets that secondary. They always produce, and he was in the mix of that, and he knows how to run that defense. So we do have a scheme change in Detroit, and he was brought in. I do believe we have a scheme change in Detroit, right? Yeah.
Aaron Glenn is still the defensive coordinator.
I apologize if I misquoted that, but it really doesn't matter because we already know how they plan on using DeShon Elliott. They've moved Will Harris to the cornerback. I'm not sure. You hear some good reports for him. I would hope that last year's free safety is not going to be your starting corner this year. I'm thinking got a couple of guys. I think they're kind of high profiled. So, but either way, Harris is out of the way. Now they do have that 3rd or 4th round. pick possible, the rookie Joseph. He's raw. He's not ready to go. He's not even going to come close to be able to bring to the table what it is a developed above par player now. He's developed in Baltimore. He's became a good guy that everybody wants to have in the back to run that defense. And if we're looking at that entire team and especially the defense, they are getting better. But that linebacker core and that front seven is far from secure. So, part of the reason he was brought into was for shoring up the tackling in that secondary, not only getting everybody lined up. So I'm excited for him. Is he going to be tier 1? No. But as a dynasty buy, if I'm looking for a DB2 that's going to be there for the next 2 to 3 years, I'd throw a third his way. I'd like to see it. I'm not over I was a Tracy Walker fan. Still am in IDP for the right price. But I think Elliott can actually take more of a lead in that secondary than Walker can in the end.
Tracy Walker at free safety, Okudah at nickelback. That's what Mason's calling. What do you guys think about that?
I think he's going to play strong safety. That's what he played last year. Why fix something that's not broken? Plus, DeShon Elliott, he profiled.
And he's saying so Tracy Walker at free and then DeShon Elliott at strong.
No, I think it's Elliott at free safety. It's not. I don't think they're going to play they don't play the traditional deep free safety quite the way that the ones of free safeties we would normally avoid. That is not how they, at least that I seen, that they used Will Harris last year. And I think that was, like I said, they had some problems with some tackling issues. So, but as a solid, and again, this dynasty buy, who's going to offer you,
Well, and there's a lot of these defenses, there's no more, they're in sub packages 65, 70% of the time. Multiple safety looks. Sometimes you got, you need the flexibility of both safeties need to tackle, both safeties need to cover. And, you get,
what the tough call is?
Go ahead.
Bringing him up. He's got experience at getting into the backfield because that's what the Ravens did. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of upside having this versatile guy that knows what he's doing on this squad right now, especially amongst this group. Tracy Walker has been a good guy for IDP, folks, but there's a reason he faded out. There's something going on.
Well, the Lions are fun. I put up, if you check out my TikTok at Dynasty Dorks, I shared some Lions draft. They had some draft footage. I also shared it on Twitter and my sports update. Ari, he actually he shared the video that I shared. So if you check it out, you'll see Antoine Randall L's when he gets excited about them drafting Jameson Williams, and then he didn't even know that video got leaked. So really cool footage. Really like Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. They're literally like giddy about getting Jameson Williams, like two kids getting an Xbox on Christmas. It's just exciting. And it's going to be really fun to see them this offseason. It's going to be a fun Hard Knocks. So one last player to buy, Johnathan Abram, speaking of Hard Knocks.
Yeah, I like Johnathan Abram. I would definitely buy Johnathan Abram. You look at Johnathan Abram's career, he's had some issues with some injuries. His rookie year, he played the first game and he was out for the entire season. He missed the rest of the entire season. When you look at the past 2 seasons, he's injured. That shoulder injury keeps coming up, and he missed like the last 3 games, each of the past 2 seasons. But when he's on the field, this guy is highly productive, and he's a very high, a very good IDP asset. You just look at his tackling; he has extremely high ceiling with the tackling. Last season, he played only 13 games, but he managed 116 tackles. Minkah Fitzpatrick led all safeties with 124 combined tackles. and Johnathan Abram had 116, and he played 2 less games. So you're looking at a guy who can be, a top 5, top 3 safety just based on tackles. He doesn't really give you the big play upside. He doesn't have the sacks, interceptions, but he's like a linebacker. He plays in that box and he racks up tackles. So I'm definitely buying him. I would pay up to like a 2nd round pick for him.
And the Raiders got a fantastic defensive coordinator. This guy was looked at, even with a terrible team, was looked at as one of the most coveted head coaching vacancy. One of the head coaching candidates, and that's Patrick Graham from the New York Giants. He's now is the Raiders defensive coordinator.
He did a good job up there with the Giants, Steve.
Yeah, and they run a lot of 3 safety sets. They move those safeties around. Logan Ryan had all that production.
If he does that again here, he'll be a head coach soon enough. What the one thing that's pet peeved about Johnathan Abram, and I was talking to our friend of the show, and he's been a recent ghost host, a recent guest host, and as Mace of the IDP guys, he had a poll that he had put out the other day. You can check him out on Twitter at Calking 49er17. Sorry, Mace, I wasn't prepped for that, I guess. Anyways, what I was aggravated about is I'm seeing this poll. Okay, so we got 2 cornerbacks on this poll. So CJ Jackson and Trevon Diggs, and then Tracy Walker and Johnathan Abram on one here. Now, there's a few hundred votes on here. It is pretty much average 25 apiece. Okay, folks, look, I love Diggs, I love Jackson, but their corners, don't put a lot of stock in there. You'll never get that quite in return unless you hit the mother load. Now, somebody like Diggs, he's going to have to repeat a lot of interceptions again. Everybody's going to have to play him exactly like they did last year. And it's just, those guys do stick, but usually not if they're good. If they're good, they usually avoid them the next year because they don't want to give them 14 picks. But either way, they shouldn't even be really considered just a position value in this, group here. So I was really excited when I seen Mace put it out, and then I voted, and then I was like, oh, really? And then but I kept that in the back of my mind. I want to thank you, Mace, for letting me use that. But between the two, take out the 2 cornerbacks. I mean, who would you rather have, Tracy Walker or Johnathan Abram? I want Abram dynasty-wise for sure, because it's not that I don't think Tracy Walker will be around for the next year or 2, but I definitely think that, Johnathan Abram will be at a higher level. His ceiling is probably there. All he's got to do is be healthy. Again, we're talking about a defensive back. I don't know what you're going to be able to get him for. There might be people coveting him, especially if you're a Raider fan, because you ever try to get a Raider player off a Raider fan? It's really difficult. So either way, I mean, if I'm going to buy him, I'd have to see what they was going to, go with. I mean, I think that he would be worth a second in my book. I mean, I'm swinging for the fence though. Look at Oakland. I mean, they get a couple pass rushers now and stuff, but it's still kind of just especially the linebackers. I mean, we got Perriman. Who else? We think Debo's probably going to have a good season, come out and have a breakout, but it's just a lackluster situation. And there's a reason that Johnathan Abram did produce, like Brandon said, when he's in.
Well, it's about that time. It's 9:00 on the dot, and we are going to do tags. So, Brandon, I know you got to get out of here. You can go first, sir.
Okay, yeah, you can find me on Twitter at bjack83. I'm working on some more articles. Me and Gary putting out some content for dynasty owners, IDP owners, about players that you need to keep, cut, trade in dynasty. So check out the content, all the content that we put out.
All right, make sure you give him a follow, and again, make sure you subscribe to the show. Gary, where can we find you?
At the IDP Tipster, Twitter, or here. I'll be here.
So
I'm always here.
GridironRatings.com. Make sure you check out the rookie guide. We're going to get the draft guide out. Just make sure you guys check out their work on GridironRatings.com. Again, go to Rider Dynasty. Leave us a review to win a DeAndre Swift signed jersey. Go on here. Leave these guys a review if you like IDP. You can find me at Dynasty Dorks. Everybody have a good night. Good luck this season.